Good morning everybody and welcome to today's assembly. I hope you had a lovely Christmas and spent lots of time with your family. I know it's been a bit different this year, but we had to make the most of it. Today we're going to do an assembly all about being different. And I've got one of my favourite stories here by Julia Donaldson called The Smeds and the Smoos. If you can't see the pictures, I'll put a YouTube link as well for the teachers. By Lullaby Lake in a far-off planet lived a young Smed. Her name was Janet. Not far away on Humpty Hill there lived a young Smoo whose name was Bill. If you look at the pictures you can see all the Smeds and all the Smoos out having some fun. Janet, like all the Smeds, was red, and this is what her grandfather said. Never, never play with the Smoos. They sleep in holes and they wear strange shoes. They jump around like kangaroos. Never, never play with the Smoos. Bill, like the other Smoos, was blue, and these were the words of Grandmother Smoo. Never, never play with the Smeds. They have strange hair upon their heads. They sleep in funny things called beds. Never, never play with the Smeds. The Smeds on their lake liked nothing better than splashing about and getting wetter and wetter. But Janet grew bored with this watery play, and early one morning she tiptoed away. There's Janet. The Smoos jumped about on their Humpty Hill. They bounced up and down and never stood still. But Bill was beginning to think, this is boring. So early one morning he set off exploring. Janet met Bill in Wurtplar Wood, where the tockles grew tall and the glump smelled good. The two rubbed antennae and played all day long. She told him a story, he sang her a song. Then they climbed to the top of the Jebberjee and nibbled its juicy and jellyful fruit. Till who should disturb them but Grandfather Smed? Shaking his fist, he angrily said, Never, never play with a Smoo. They're such a nasty shade of blue. For the 100th time I say to you, never, never play with the Smoo. Grandmother Smoo was close behind, and this is how she spoke her mind. Never, never play with a Smed. They're such a dreadful shade of red. I'll say again what I've always said. Never, never play with a Smed. Years went by in the far-off planet. Janet missed Bill and Bill missed Janet. But off they crept wherever they could to sing a song in the Wurtplar Wood. The two of them grew and decided to wed. But what do you think their grandparents said? Never, never marry a Smoo. They're the beastiest bunch. They're a crazy crew. They drink black tea. They eat green stew. Never, never marry a Smoo. Never, never marry a Smed, my dearest child. Are you off your head? They drink pink milk. They eat brown bread. Never, never marry a Smed. Janet and Bill stole out that night while their family slept and their scroon shone bright. They clambered into the Smed's red rocket. Grandfather Smed had forgotten to lock it. But Bill pressed the button and Janet steered. When their families woke, they had disappeared. The Smeds said, Your Bill must have stolen our Janet and taken her off to a distant planet. The Smoos said, It's Janet who's stolen our Bill. She's lured him away from Humpty Hill. The Smoos climbed into their rocket blue. They said to the Smeds, You'd better come too. Suspicious and scowling, they soared into space. Till they reached planet Vlum Vlum, a dusty, dry place. The Vlums had long arms which they waved in the air, but they didn't have news of the runaway pair. Next stop was Lurgos and Strop, covered in roses and watered by beasts with small eyes and long noses. They touched down on Grimpletosh, coated in grime. They searched Planet Glurch and found nothing but slime. One morning, the Shmoos found they'd run out of tea, so the Schmeds shared their milk, which was pink as could be. Then Grandfather Schmed said, "My hair needs a trim," and Grandmother Shmoo kindly cut it for him. They landed on Skloop, where the Skloopies wore kilts. Then they flew to Kabloo, where the Clabs walked on stilts. They searched all year long, then they searched longer still, but they didn't find Janet, and they didn't find Bill. "Alas," said the Shmoos, and the Smed said, "Alack! We have failed our quest, we'd better turn back." So they turned and flew home to their very own planet, and far down below, then they saw Bill and Janet. The rocket touched down, and they ran to the wood, where the tockles grew tall and the glump smelled good. And there in the glade by the rocket of red were the runaway Shmoo and the runaway Schmed. They got lost, flown home again, only to find that all of the others had been left behind. There was joy, jam and jumping. Then Janet said, "Maybe you'd like to make friends with our dear little baby." "A baby? A red one? A blue one?" But no. The baby was purple from head to the toe. They all hugged the Shmoo Schmeds, their new baby brother, and Grandpa and Gran even hugged one another. They laughed and they splashed and they danced with delight, and they played with that baby from morning till night. They made him a rattle, they made him a flute, they fed him the fruit of the Jabberwock. Then they sang by the light of the silvery scroon, and you can sing too if you make them a tune. Play with the Smeds and play with the Shmoos, play with whichever friends you choose. Then you close your eyes, and while you snooze, dream of the Smeds and dream of the Shmoos. So, like a lot of Julia Donaldson books, there's always a moral. That's a lesson that can be learned. Have a little chat with the person next to you and think about what you think the lesson to be learned is about this story. Right, lovely. The lesson, I think, is that it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be friends with absolutely anybody. And I've got a fun experiment to show you. Here, I've got one lime and one Satsuma. Now they have lots of similarities, that's things that are the same. So they're both sphere-shaped. They're both citrus fruits. Maybe you could think of some more. Now, as well as similarities, they've also got differences. They're different colours. They're different sizes. Can you think of any others? Now, the best thing about these fruits is when you cut them in half with a knife, there's something special about them on the inside. They each have a star shape in the middle. Can you see that? Now this shows that even though they're different on the outside, and they might taste different, they might grow in different places, on the inside we're all the same. We're all stars. I want you to think about that this week. Maybe your task for this week is to try and make friends with someone new. Have a chat with people around you and think about ways that you can make someone a friend. Or if you're new to the school, you can make lots of new friends. If you come up with 3 different ways and tell me while I'm on duty outside, I'll give you a sticker. Thank you for listening.